Hello YouTube land, I'm VoxVictorum and welcome to another exciting episode of the 100-Day Planet Crafted Challenge. Today is episode 4 and we are going from day 31 to day 50, a nice bumper episode. So sit back, relax and enjoy. Things are heating up nicely. The video of course starts with us on day 31 where we went back and forth and did some looting. We went basically to all the different drills in all the different areas, took some of the loot back to our cave, our bat cave. No, not actually. We went to different caves, gone to the drills, grabbed a bunch of the resources and took them home. And this was a lot of the day, to be honest. This is unfortunately one of those things where, as I mentioned in previous videos, you do spend a lot of time going backwards and forwards. While exploring the moonfields, I did come upon a cave, an underground cave in essence, that looked, well, pink-purple hue. Did my normal thing where I built myself a looting chamber and then named it. So I found to put beacons down gives me a more or less direction of where I can go. I see there's super alloy strike in the background, but we've got so many super alloys already. That's fine. We build ourselves a nice storage area, slap down everything we've got in our inventory so we can go looting. Look at that, we are in the cave. As I mentioned, it's sort of got a purple pinkish hue. The water looks pink but the hue looks purple. And then I spend a couple of minutes exploring. I was picking up some irons, picking up some aluminium. Don't exactly know why I spent some time looting outside. Oh yes, I wanted to make a second looting box. So putting down a drill, notice that I can only mine iron, which is basically useless at that point. And I do find something, a message from a warden. I have no idea what a warden is, but it does seem to be something from the principal storyline, the underlying storyline. I found a similar door to the one we found in the super alloy cave, but of course this door is a lot smaller and there's an actual pedestal where it looks like I can put something down. So I was hoping that I could find a key of some sorts to be able to put in that pedestal or something that I can put there. And I continue to explore this majestically looking cave that has so far given me nothing of value except a small island that has a key. Open Warden's Altar. There's a small coordinate there that I would be visiting a little bit later. And I grab myself a key and continue exploring. And of course, as soon as the opportunity does come up, we always grab ourselves a rare larva. Found one of the exits, which brings you close to a fantastic looking waterfall. So if you explore this too early, before the water is liquid, I'm assuming that's just a big rock. And it looks like there's a new opening towards my left that's on the way to my home base. So let's explore that a little bit. Those are some big ass roots right there. That's quite cool. While looking at through the roots, basically, that's quite large, I can see that this is now a shortcut to home. As you can see, the day is coming to a close. And I just set up a normal small collection base again, give myself a small beacon called Waterfall Area, because it is basically at the waterfall, grab myself some fresh air and end the day. We start the day basically as the other day ended, so day 32 we go towards the waterfall and we start exploring it a little bit. Now if you see a waterfall, the rule is you need to go and see if there's something behind it. Lo and behold, we find a cave. Beautiful. Thank you Planet Crafted devs for at least putting one cave behind the waterfall there, a normal classic waterfall, not like the sand waterfall we saw earlier. A little bit of water, just exploring the cave, seeing if there's anything of use in this cave. So far I haven't seen anything, mostly just water. There's a couple of buried stuff. There's a common larva there, there's a box. The boxes do increase in useful loot as time goes on. So if you ignore the box early in life and you gather a box later on, except this box of course, because it seems to have pre-packed stuff, exoskeleton, backpack, oxygen stuff. There's a message. It was supposed to be a fun, relaxing time turned into a nightmare. 5 weeks of cruise across the lesser known parts of the universe, and it seems they crashed. Anyway, we are continuing exploring, and I find myself a crater that looks, well, actually nice and tropical. It looks idyllic. Got a small island in the middle, got some water around it with some trees there. And what do we do when we do that? We go and explore. In the water, I find an underwater bunker situation where that's got some resources. We've got a couple of water bottles, we've got some oxygen, we've got a couple of space food things. So I'm assuming if you explore this earlier, you'd find some useful things there. Currently, I don't really need this. It seems as though this person built this base but couldn't get a signal and said they're going to build a base slightly higher. But we'll go back. We've got some full loot. We need to just basically put down some of the loot, which is a logical thing to do. And after I put down all the things that I looted within my new warehouse, just go to the Iridium cave to end the day and put down another T2 drill. That's in essence what I did most of the day. I explored. I'm not going to show in essence the things that I've done over and over, which is looting. So on day 33, we start the day of exploring, and something catches my eye, and that looks like a lava waterfall, which is quite majestic. Just look at that, it looks quite cool. It looks like something that Anakin Skywalker and all the Obi-Wan Kenobi would bring back some haunting memories. In this area, it seems as though I find myself a couple of iridium ores, which is fantastic. It does make sense because it is all for the heat, you know. And as I'm exploring this area, which looks, well, let's just be honest, it looks quite cool. You've got the lava looking through the walls, you've got the moon, well, the planet and stuff like that, everything on the horizon. I do notice to my left hand side there is a massive ship. This ship is quite large. So, what do you do when you find a massive shipwreck and you play a game where you are supposed to explore? Well, firstly, you go home and slap down all the resources that you've already gathered. I start myself a couple of butterfly larvas, and just to send that up, I have decided that we should do a couple of things to enhance our world in this rain. Notice that I put down a circuit board box. We did find circuit boards, a good late game a resource that you'll use a lot in the late game. So on a rainy day, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to make the planet better, in essence. So we're going to send up some rockets. We need to terraform this world, and the terraformation rockets increase the fold by 1,000. So what do? We send up plant rockets. Now just look at those babies, the plant rockets. I made a boo-boo there, unfortunately. I sent up the other rocket too quickly. I created it too quickly. The good news is they eventually just disappear if they get stuck. But all in all, the effect is still there, even though they're not technically in orbit. So that's fine. I have sent up the plant rockets. We've sent up 4 in total. And we are also going to send up a couple of oxygen rockets, which also increases the oxygen multiplier by 1,000. So whatever oxygen things we do, we'll send that up. We've now got the 4 plant rockets, 2 and 2. Now time for the oxygen ones. That is the one thing, I sent up over 100 rockets all in all in this entire playthrough. Every single time I send them up, they look so cool. I feel like NASA. And as I mentioned on the other videos, the oxygen and the plant rockets, if you send them up, the pollen in the air, I just sneeze thinking about it. It's crazy. So we've increased by 4,000% the oxygen multipliers and the plant multipliers, so that's gonna give a good boom to our terraformation index, which is currently sitting at 16.74, and our stats are looking quite good. life is increasing. We went from TI to MTI to GTI, and now it's time for some more T4 drills. We have the resources. We put down a 1, we put down a second. Time for some T4 heaters. We put down 1, we put down a second, and we do decide to sequence some DNA for trees because we have 3 spreaders that we can put down. 3 spreader T2s, they are quite good for oxygen and for the plant. And we've got a silk generator we just unlocked. Fantastic. Silk is used to create fabric. So, what do we do? 3 spreader T2, slap that down, put in the 3 spreader seed, and that gives us a nice boost. Which, you look at that, oxygen and plants are increasing. And we sequence another one. Why? Because it's just useful to have more than one. Why build one when you can build 75? Don't yet have the resource for 75, but that's fine. Grab the butterflies. Go to the butterfly farm. It does look quite well, the butterfly dome in this case. It does look quite cool. The butterflies floating around. And the rest of the day, basically, I just slapped down another T2 drill on day 34, and I do a lot of farming in essence. Resource collection, putting it down. With the map, we do have a couple of cool things. Looking at the map, we can see almost everything now. We have a couple of satellites up in there already. And as we scan around, we can see everything. I'm assuming that's the area that I was just at there with the big ship and the lava area. It does look fine. And that looks like obsidian. Currently, we've got double-digit rockets up for everything, which is excellent. And our stats are already over 20 GTI. This is looking quite good. Day 34, we build ourselves a silk generator. As I mentioned earlier, the silk generator is good for fabric. And you need 3 silkworms to create a generator, which is... Silkworms aren't used a lot, to be honest, unless you do a silk farm. And the rest of the day I spent building my warehouse. Well, expanding the warehouse. I went from a side-by-side warehouse to a back-to-front warehouse, which was a lot more effective, efficient, and spacing. And enjoy the show. For the warehouse, of course, as we build it, we of course need to collect things. As you can see, the entire day of day 34, day 35 and day 36 was built for the warehouse. Even day 37 started with us finishing the warehouse. Day 37, we decided to just slap down a T2 nuclear reactor because I didn't have enough pulsar quartz to put down a fusion reactor. We did need some more power. And then I decided I do have the key. So let's go to the super alloy cave, but the key didn't work. So I said, let's just put down a T2 drill. We can be quite useful for the T2 drill. There's still no pedestal there. So I'm assuming I need to use that key at the other pedestal I saw first to use it first. On day 37, we're almost at 30 GTI. Our insect and plant ratio is going up, and we are almost at a breathable atmosphere, which means I won't have to struggle with oxygen, even though I never did actually struggle with oxygen. I went back to the crater and went to the upper level to look at that place where the guy said he built another base, and then I spent some time doing what we need to do, which is loot. It was quite a big base. Almost the entire day 38 was basically spent looting this base, going backwards and forwards and hauling all the loot back to home, which is quite time consuming. On day 39, the only cool thing that happened on day 39 other than resource collection was a meteor that looked, well, just beautiful. Quick save game there. Look at the whole world is looking purple, and I'm thinking this is a pulsar quartz meteor by the looks of it, because that's basically the same color as a pulsar quartz meteor. Is this going to drop in the water? It's going to cause a tidal wave and we're going to make the movie Deep Impact 2? I do think so. It looks cool. But there's no impact on the actual water itself. Well, at least not the physics anyway, which is probably a good thing because, yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, I didn't do much on day 39 other than collecting resources, building another tree spreader, and collecting some pulsar quartz because of this meteor. There was one meteorite that fell, so hopefully it gives me a bunch of pulsar quartz. Got one there, two there, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the 10th one I just couldn't grab. So beautiful. Day 40, we go back to the area of the lava waterfall I saw, and what you need to do is you need to collect some resources, and I finally found obsidian. Now, obsidian is quite important because with obsidian we can use the teleporter. The teleporter is quite useful because it saves a lot of time hauling backwards and forwards and wherever you are to your base, any loot you have, or just pure transportation. It saves a lot of time. But of course a teleporter needs two places. So one, we make one at home, and then you need a second one. As I mentioned, you need pulsar quartz for that, and also obsidian, so now I can do that. On day 40 again, we take the T1 machine optimizer and slap down a T2 optimizer. Every T2 optimizer can hold 3 fuses. Now, currently I only have the 1 fuse, which is fine, and the radius is larger. So it just makes sense that I should put down the T2 optimizer in a better area. We've unlocked the fusion cell. The fusion cell enables me to be able to go to the ships and put power in those those fusion reactors, and maybe it unlocks parts of the ship that I can go to. I've now put down a resource collector there, and I'm collecting all the resources back into my boxes. Now there's a strategy that I use basically is to move around with the resources of a teleporter on me. So as I move around, I can go to a destination, do all the looting, and then just grab the teleporter back again. Day 41 was spent mostly having my resources, organizing resources, having the loot that I have, to go backwards and forwards, have the rockets. Nothing special happened mainly. I do see that I can build a drone station, so we do need some resources to build a fusion cell. I pin the resources recipes to my top left. I see that I have everything I required. So 3 pulsar quartz, 2 osmiums, and an obsidian for a fusion cell. Grab the fusion cell. See that I still have a lot of power, so I don't actually need to build a fusion reactor with a couple of resources that I do have. See that I can build a fusion cell, and then build the required rods. I do see that I need a couple of rods as well, osmium rods as well, and then some zeolite and some osmium itself, and then a couple of circuit boards. So drones are quite useful for the automation part of the world. So what you can do is you build a drone station and you build a couple of drones. As you build a drone, you can then, on anything that has resources, you can have a supply and a demand. So for example, on drills you can say supply, and on loot boxes you can say demand. So then the drones that you have in your inventory, every drone station can have up to 25 drones. So the drones that you have in your inventory, T1 drones are slower than T2. T2 of course a lot quicker. The autocrafter will quickly build me a couple of drones. That makes the autocrafter quite useful, saves time. So it means I don't have to go and loot all the resources. You can't build everything of course. Anyway, so the drones are quite useful, as then they will go to the places that have a supply, pick up the resource that they are supplying, and drop it off in the demand, which means you can set up anything and everything that you want backwards and forwards to have a supply and a demand, and then eventually you'll have full resource loots, full boxes, you know. Again, the rest of this time frame of day 43 was literally spent setting up all the demand and the supply of all the different boxes and loot boxes and drills, that it makes life easier and useful for the drones to be able to do their job. And setting all that up brings us to the end of day 43, or day 44. Day 45 was a good day. We find ourselves looking to build a couple of butterfly farms. Not the big ones that you saw earlier, but small ones that take up less space, less energy, and they produce more for the insects. So each farm can have one butterfly that you can put into it. So that's beautiful. I explored a little bit of the iridium cave and I saw a route that goes up to the roof, and I found myself on a small platform that was absolutely beautiful with all the butterflies floating around. There was a couple of zeolite resources, a couple of butterflies as I mentioned, a couple of boxes that I noticed around, and as I mentioned, the later you find a box, the more useful things they might have in them. And I just found my first Terra tokens. Terra tokens is useful when you have the trade rocket unlocked later on in the game, where you can sell things and buy things, sort of like a marketplace. But you can't do it for everything, but we'll get to that point a little later. As I make my way up to the top, I find myself another zeolite, and this is quite the view. It's quite a beautiful view, I have to say. So as I mentioned before, I'm not going to spend a lot of time showing the things that we do over and over and over, which is a bunch of resource collection and then taking back to base. I will still show some useful things here and there, just to make the videos not as boring, because if I only show those things, like I mentioned a couple of days ago, I spent the whole day just doing resource collection and putting it back and backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, and it'll be a little boring, so we won't do that. On day 46, while exploring the meteor crater area, I found myself a cave that had pulsar quartz and a couple of boxes. Yes, my good people, a pulsar quartz cave. The unfortunate thing was, try it as I might, I wasn't able to put a drill down there. So I'm thinking they designed it with that purpose, because tier 2 drills wouldn't be able, tier 1s wouldn't be able to do this, and tier 2s would be, but I couldn't find a way to get the tier 2 drill to work. It just didn't want to work. All in all, it was fine. I was able to get a lot of pulsar quartz there, a lot of loot in the boxes there. And then the rest of day 46, I spent some time expanding the drone regiment for better automation. Day 47 started with me again at the meteor crater area, and I find myself another waterfall that goes into a crevice type area. It does look quite cool. I have to give it to the devs. They've done a good job with this. It looks fantastic, and I'm thinking there's most likely something there to be able to be lootable. Let's put it like that. Then I do my normal thing. I put down my teleporter. I put down a loot box so that I can put my stuff there, because I did have a couple of things on me. Put that over and then proceed to explore. As I'm exploring, I find fish. Yes, people, we are already at the level of fish. I can't do fish myself yet, but that's fantastic. There's a deep pool who's got two sides, and in the two sides there's a man-made base, which is basically my type thing. My elements, there's a couple of messages there, a couple of rods of different variations. I have the T2 deconstructor now, so I can deconstruct technology things, which gives me circuit boards. Wow, couldn't get that word. Circuit boards. Then loot it a bit, grab some oxygen. The oxygen does go down when you're in the water, of course. It does make sense. Then I went in the other direction, and we have more resources there that look like the warden type things, the same brownish color. That is definitely not the, well, let's say modern human make, because it's not our technology. There's a staircase that goes up into an area that I can't use my rocket, so which sucks a bit, so I have to run. But yeah, it's in essence a place full of ruins, which is quite cool. I don't know how this area full works in with the main storyline. Again, maybe they just give some history. There's a couple of plaques around there. Other than that, there's nothing much. There's the water, as you can see. I'm getting just to drink a bit of water. It looks like an ancient ruin of the civilization that used to be here that is now, well, ruined, as the word says, but not more useful. As I can't explore any further, I decide to explore a little bit further to the waterfall area that we saw earlier. I only explored the one side with the cave. Of course, there's water, so we go into the water, and I did notice a ship to my left-hand side. This is now day 48, and what do? We loot. But again, we do the normal thing. We build down the base. We've got platform, we need the platform gets the box needs a teleporter, and we do the normal thing, you know. Yeah, I almost missed this ship. It's not a big, it's not that visible, but there was a lot of useful things in this ship. So we do the good thing, we loot it. When day 49 comes along, you just notice there that I've got a trade rocket. What you can do is you can take a couple of fuses that you find or things that you don't find useful. You can put them in the rocket, and then you can buy a couple of things. As you look to the top right, you will notice Terra tokens, current and inventory, and then you can say launch, which means then the rocket leaves for 10 minutes. When it comes back, you have whatever you bought, and whatever you sold is now in your inventory on Terra tokens. So it's basically it's a trade rocket. It's exactly what the name says. I did use this a lot because I spent thousands on fuses to multiply the optimizer. We are already at 134 GTI, my good people, and the day is day 49. Life is moving along swiftly. We spend day 50. Not a big day. The rocket returned with a tier 2 optimizer. I can now put that down close to my power, which means I will never struggle for power again. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, it's got a certain region that it can cover. Just to make sure that I cover everything, I just moved my fusion reactors closer to the optimizer, just to make sure that I do get all the resources and all the benefit without missing out on it, because that would just be silly. Even though we're going for 100 days, we still need to be slightly optimized, you know, it's just better. So many fusion reactors there, it looks like Fukushima. Luckily we don't get any earthquakes, so there's no chance of things getting damaged. So that's nice. So of course we will no longer have any power issues. Look at that, we've got 6,168 power available. The rest of day 50 was a beautiful day. We just spent some time expanding the butterfly farm to get our insect level a lot higher. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of day 50. We are currently sitting at over 150 GTI. World is developing nicely. We are already at insects. We've saw a couple of fish floating around in the other area. Well, terraformation is going along nicely. We've got 157.92 GTI. Oxygen, heat, pressure and biomass is standing beautifully. I thank you for your time and joining me in another adventure on the PlanetCrafter 100-Day Challenge, where we get the world to a paradise. I'm VoxVictorum, and I'll see you next time.